If I could call the meeting to order, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Robert, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
New appointments to the commission. Attorney Dave Hollenbeck.
Thank you. We have 5 new appointments. I've reviewed them as to form, and they are all in proper form, so we should welcome 5 new members to the commission. The town of Merrillville will be sending us Keisha Hardaway. That last name sounds familiar. The town of Porter will be sending us James Burge, who's here. The town of Beverly Shores will be sending us David Phelps. The city of East Chicago will be sending us Vanessa Hernandez Orange. The town of Long Beach will be sending us Jonathan Haley. And all 5 of those are in proper order, so we should welcome 5 new board members.
Welcome. Excited to have them. And priority-wise, thanks to Wendy Miss.
Donuts.
Munster Donuts, so please all enjoy. Take one and pass around. Candace,
roll. Our president, our chairman, he said,
yes.
Bring donuts. He said, if you're going to be late, bring donuts.
That's right. Thank you, Wendy.
And don't count them, there might be one missing.
Candace, roll call.
Sure. I will begin with the executive board first, which is the form of the executive board.
Yeah.
Kevin Brightsky.
Here.
Tom Dermody.
Here.
Denise Ebert. Bill Emerson.
Here.
Justin Keel.
Present.
Wendy Miss.
Present.
Jim Russell. Lisa Rosenkrantz.
Present.
Tom Schmidt.
Here.
Jim Tunn.
Present.
We have a form, we have 8 in attendance, so we have a form. I will continue on with the remaining commissioners. Kyle Allen. Dwayne Arndt. Jenny Byer. Thomas Black. Austin Bonta. James Burge.
Here.
Robert Carnahan.
Here.
Bill Carroll. Tim Clayton. Dinah Dumbris. Connie Grammarosa. J.D. Haley. Keisha Hardaway. Bonnie Hawksworth. Tony Hendricks. Vanessa Orange Hernandez. Josh Huddleston. Kurt Jordan.
Here.
Scott Keenan. Peter Land. Tom McDermott. Lori Mercer. Edward Morales. Randall Niemeyer. David Phelps. Barb Regnitz. Regina Riddell. Rick Ripa. Steve Spivar. Gerald Sweats. Sharon Zuido. Mary Tanis. George Topple.
Here.
Andy Vespez. C.J. Whitmer. John Yelkich. There was 4 additional, we have a total of 12.
Thank you. We do not have any public comment. I'll move to approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
I do have a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Report of the chair. I think Ty Warner will probably talk about the NARC, not the NARC conference that we attended. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn that over to the executive director, Ty Warner.
Great, thank you. So some of us just got back late last night from Washington, D.C., and appreciated having Mr. Dermody, Mr. Keel, Miss, all present and carrying the NERC flag with regional councils from across the country and in Washington, D.C., and it was an extremely good conference, at least I thought. I love all my commissioners equally and I'm appreciative, especially of these three having traveled though, but now since she brought donuts, Wendy Miss is now my favorite commissioner, at least for this morning, on top of getting back late last night. So I won't even begin to recap the entire conference, but handled lots of pertinent issues to NERC. One of the things I will throw out there is just a huge attention as far as our transportation mission goes on laying the groundwork now for reauthorization of the next transportation bill. So that was talked about quite a bit of what things on behalf of regional councils and other MPOs like NERC we want to have into that new legislation before that comes up and hits us in just a couple of years. And as I've said many times, it's these things go in lulls. Like when it comes to the end of that legislation, you'll see all the news stories about crumbling infrastructure. And what happened last time was Congress cobbled together a lot of funds to fund the infrastructure, the Highway Trust Fund that funds all the projects that come through NERC. And but just from random sources. So there's still no sustainable source of funding for that program. In fact, one of the pieces of news is that we are we're only bringing in a third of what we are spending from the Highway Trust Fund. So again, now everybody, because it's currently funded, you don't see a lot of attention. In a couple of years, it'll be all the sky is falling headlines again. So part of our message on Capitol Hill as we met with our legislators was to start thinking about this in advance, especially for a sustainable source of funding. It's currently funded by the gas tax, if you're not aware of how this works. That 18 cents, though, hasn't changed since 1993. And the most viable source that there is a huge movement to try to use to replace that is a mileage-based user fee, also known as a road user charge, where it's simply based on mileage, which addresses electric vehicles, alternative fuels, and so gets us away from dependence on the gas tax per se. So that was one of our primary issues. I did bring a couple of the handouts. I don't have enough to pass out for everybody. Just want to take a look at these and pass them around. Of the issues that we brought, which this commission has talked about before, so nothing particularly new, but just to keep it front and center, it was that Highway Trust Fund issue with the transportation bill that I just talked about. We also talked about this ongoing problem with blocked railroad crossings. And although some efforts have been made in Hammond at the location where that ProPublica piece with the video of kids crawling under rail couplings and everything, that got up a lot of attention. It's sad that it took that to be able to draw attention to the issue of the blocked crossings. But we did continue to say this is a continual problem of having the Class 1 railroads actually dialogue with communities to try to find effective solutions, and that we need congressional help to bring those Class 1 railroads to the table, since they claim federal preemption, and so going back to the 1800s, they claim they just don't feel they need a lot of conversation, but we're encouraging our congressional representatives to help us have those conversations. I know Mr. Dermody was able to talk to the Federal Railroad Administrator, and so some really good connections while we were there. The third issue, just real quick on that handout, is the Calumet National Heritage Area that this commission has passed a resolution in support of. So we're still encouraging that be designated. So all in all, a really good, I think, trip to DC. I don't know if any, Mr. Dermody, Mr. Keel, Ms. Miss, if you have anything else you want to add just from your experience. It was Wendy's first time to the NARC. So not to force anybody, but if you want to offer any comments.
That was great information. The sessions were very helpful, both from a NERC point of view as well as a municipal point of view. So I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Well, I would state regarding the Federal Railroad, we have Norfolk Southern, who has no interest in participating as a good community partner with us in our community. And, I know they are meeting, the top, I forget, administrator is meeting today with the CEO of Norfolk Southern. And part of the things they've done in our community is obviously the lack of interest in breaking up at the crossings or other items. So we're excited that I think they heard directly from us the concerns. And at some point, somebody has to get control of the railroad and hold them accountable.
Mayor Dermody and I actually had the opportunity. He caught the FRA administrator at the end, and I had him cornered at the beginning. I had the opportunity to moderate a panel where Mr. Bose, the administrator, was speaking, I had actually had a whole bunch of questions prepared for him, and he cleverly filibustered his entire question period and gave a presentation instead. But we did talk at length with him about the issues that we're facing, and at least he's hearing it from multiple people over and over again.
Thank you all, and again, thank you for, it was great to have you there, so appreciate everyone being here. Should I just roll into got a few other items that are going to be.
Please.
Great. Just want to give an update on House Bill 1251, that's with the local appropriation increase. So if you recall, that whole issue are actually very similar to the gas tax that I just talked about. Our local appropriation has 70 cents per capita, hasn't been changed since 1992. So as this commission has voted, and this is old news, but has voted to ask the state legislature, since this is in our state statute, and so it needs to be changed in Indiana state code. We've asked the legislature to adjust that from 70 cents per capita to a current dollar valuation of $1.50, just adjusting for inflation over that time. And so if you recall from the discussions, Representative Slager introduced House Bill 1251 for that, but asked that he receive the support from each of the 3 counties, Lake Porter and LaPorte, since it comes from their appropriation, to make sure that they are on board and understanding what this means for their budget and are supportive of it. So we undertook that process, and just to give a status from last time we talked about this. So first, LaPorte County, thank you very much, Mr. Keel. LaPorte County approved our request exactly as presented. Dave Hollenbeck and I then went to the Porter County Council, and they approved it as well, but with 2 particular stipulations. One, that the increase be stepped over 5 years to get to $1.50, so that they would not absorb that increase all in once at the 2025 budget year. So that was their recommendation then, to upgrade it, which works out to 16 cents increase per year for 5 years till we get to $1.50. And then they also requested that it come back to the counties once it got to $1.50 before it goes any further beyond that. And then Lake County Council just last Tuesday, thank you, Tom Vanderwood, for being present for that while we were in DC. Lake County Council approved it as well, with the same stipulation as Porter. So with an increase of 16 cents every year, going up to $1.50 in year 2029, and then coming back to the counties. So I'm very thankful for the support of all 3 counties on this. Very grateful for that. I think that says a lot about the value that those counties are seeing from NERC and the funds that come to the counties and the municipalities within those counties from the work that NERC does. So we're extremely grateful for that. So now it's back completely in the legislature's hands now. So Representative Slager, since we're past the point of his bill actually proceeding as it was originally authored, now we're at the point of him seeking a similar bill to attach that onto. And so we're very hopeful yet in this session that that will be accomplished. And with the support of the 3 counties, I don't see any particular impediment as long as he can find some place to attach it to. So that's the status on that. Be glad to answer any questions, but otherwise I just got 2 more quick things.
Please.
So these next 2 things I'm actually turning over to other staff to give a quick update on. First, Dennery Kane, you may have seen our press release and notice about our fellow through the IEDC, but a different IEDC, the International Economic Development Council. I'll let Dennery give the scoop on an award that NERC received.
Last week, we were informed that NERC is one of 65 host organizations across the country selected for this inaugural program called the Economic Recovery Corps. And what this program does, it was a $30 million funded program through EDA that offsets the cost of a fellow for 2.5 years as a 1099 contractor to a host organization. And so NERC submitted an application last June, worked through a very competitive process. There were over 500 applications to be host organizations. And the project that our fellow will be working on is related to doing in-depth research on vacant or brownfield sites within a certain proximity to the quantum computing fiber corridor in Lake County. Ultimately, we're hoping that there are 8 sites between 10 to 50 acres identified that can have very specific redevelopment strategies developed in partnership with the community that it's in, whether it be Hammond, Gary, East Chicago, or Lake Station. And we're hoping that this assists in business attraction for businesses in those communities that are also interested in being close to the quantum computing fiber corridor. So this week in Portland, Oregon, Kathy Luther attended the host training. She's back. So I attended virtually, and then Selena Green, who is our fellow, is there all week doing intensive training with her other fellows. So this is an opportunity for us to have the services of a mid-career professional. These are not newly minted graduates. These are experienced people that bring some really good skill sets to the table. So we're really pleased to have Selena, and she'll be with us for 2.5 years. And we look forward to additional information that we can share with you as her work progresses. But again, we're happy to have been selected and to be part of this inaugural cohort. And there's been a lot of excitement about this through the EDA, and we hope they repeat the process as they're funded again to do so.
Thank you, Dennery. Again, this is only one of 65 that were selected across the country, so we're very excited about this. And then the other quick announcement is Charles Bradsky has something to relay about a tip workshop.
Good morning, everybody. Just wanted to let everybody know that on the 29th of this month.
Leap year.
What's that?
It's a leap year.
We
So
are
you shouldn't have
holding
anything on your calendar.
we're holding a new administration workshop. Similar to the AIM, but it's going to be focused, its main focus is going to be on NERC, the NERC area, how we do things. I'm not going to take it on the road. Maybe I'll take it to AIM in the future. I don't know. I've got to talk with INDOT about that. But the whole idea is to, if you have new administration or even current administration, come and we'll discuss how we do things here. We'll go through the NOFA. We'll go through the federal funds administration, how we divvy those up, and so on and so forth. If you have any questions, please bring them. If you are a veteran, please come, because this is the first time I've done this. And if I'm not succinct about something, please raise, I'm not going to ask people to please raise their hand and help everybody in the room learn about how the process works. I've had a lot of mayors say to me in the past, we got the money now, let's do the project, let's go to letting. And that's not how things work. So I just kind of want to help everybody understand how the federal aid process works, at least in the NERC MPO area. So that's on the 29th, and we will send a constant contact out here probably this week or next week, probably next week.
And what time is that from?
I originally set it up for 8:30 to 10:30, but then I just found out that I reserved the wrong room. And Mayor Bonta beat me to this room. So we'll probably just push it back a couple hours. So probably 10:30 to 12:30 or something like that.
We'll get a notice out.
Yes.
ASAP, so we can make sure we reserve that. I think something went out last week, but we'll follow up at the correct time and all. We understand this whole process can be very complicated, and so I think this is a good benefit, and appreciate staff having the idea to offer it so everybody knows how the process works. Thanks, Charles. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Oh, except to thank our friends at Yagi Road Roasters once again for the coffee this morning.
I am up the lease.
That's coming up on the agenda under Finance and Personnel. If you look at your
Environmental Management Policy Committee, Bill Emerson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'm going to add a note on the previous item for the training for the members. I think that's really great, because I know for the first probably year or so that I was a commissioner here, I really didn't know what was going on with financing and things like that. It was hard to really get that figured out. So I appreciate you doing that. Really. The Environmental Management Council Committee did meet this month. I unfortunately was not able to make the meeting, so I'm asking Kathy Luther to come up and give a kind of a summary of what was done. Thank you, Kathy.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I don't sound great, and I can't hear well because I was in the plane lately last night. But and first I want to thank George Vogel. He had a field promotion on the fly at UPC and chaired the meeting very quickly. We did a brief presentation on our Sensible Tools Handbook Plus, specifically for communities that may have recently adopted or considering adopted a sustainability committee or sustainability commission. We think we have a lot of tools in there that can be useful. That was very well received. We tried to give a summary of all the different climate planning and climate grants going on right now at the state level, the metropolitan area level, and make some sense out of that. And then thirdly, on March 7th, we are having a working group to focus on the NOFA that Charles just talked about. Specifically, there's about 4 categories of funding and projects that the EMPC scores out and ranks, and we want to work through that ahead of time and see if we can tweak it up. So if anyone, if you have staff that might be interested in attending that workshop, it will be at 9 a.m. on March 7th.
Thank you, Kathy. Mr. Chairman, our next scheduled EMPC meeting is May 2nd at 9 a.m.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Finance and Personnel Committee, Wendy Miss.
That's me. Good morning, everyone. Our committee did not meet this month. The only item of note that would have been on the agenda is the NERC building lease, and we had given authority to the commission attorney Hollenbeck and executive director Ty Warner to negotiate on our behalf. And I believe we've come to some kind of, you had something to report.
Well, other than after being in the red zone for 60 days, we finally have pushed the ball across the goal line. And through Ty's efforts, we now have a approved and executed 5-year lease on the building with some additional amenities that have been added kindly by Portage. We are here for 5 years, whether we like it or not.
Congratulations.
Thank you, we're very happy to have
Thank you for
that.
all your efforts on that.
A question on that.
Yeah.
When we were talking about a 5 or a 10-year lease, and we had discussion that the 5-year lease would probably cost us more than a 10-year lease. So did that happen?
Yes, but it's still well within our budgeted constraints and guidelines. In fact, the 2024 monetary aspect is the same as 2023.
Correct.
So it did not go up in 2024.
And did we work something out to see that invoices are sent to us so we can pay our bills?
Well, other than making it perfectly clear that we don't and can't pay invoices we don't have, and I think that message has gotten through to the new administration in Portage, and I have every confidence that we will get invoices.
So
Why we're talking about Portage, the mayor asked for prayers today, but he didn't say why, so everybody remember the mayor of Portage today.
appreciate it.
About plowing or some of those issues that we've talked about, do you feel like have been addressed?
Yeah, so one of the additions to this new lease is that there's now a whole paragraph that has responsibilities of the Portage RDC, including keeping things plowed, keeping it cleared out front, keeping this area clean and maintained, the bathrooms up here clean and maintained. These are all areas that we're not responsible for, so now that's spelled out in the lease that they'll keep those updated, including, we've been paying for the replacement of flags on this building for 10 years. And so it's a minor thing, but now Portage will be supplying flags for their own buildings. So, but can I go back to the utility issue? So there's a change with this particular lease that addresses the problem that you're talking about. And so this kind of eliminates the problem. And that this new lease structure for 5 years goes to what was the term you used, Dave? A triple net lease. So the utilities and everything are projected out for 5 years, or that's already built into the lease. So they've actually eliminated the invoice problem completely. So that's now just we're paying rent on the building, it's factored in, just like you might do with an apartment or something in situations. So that's the new.
That's good if they raise utility rates,
Yeah.
you're locked in.
Right. Well, frankly, we've been providing, maybe I shouldn't say this publicly. We've been providing those charging stations out front, electric vehicle charging stations for free. We haven't charged for the use of that because we wanted to demonstrate that this is workable and provide that opportunity. So it's not just people that have been visiting this building that have been using that charging station. There are people there at night, whatever, as some of us have been here late. And actually that situation with the utilities helps with even something like that, in that it's, we're paying a flat utility fee, so that's a good assistance. I might mention also, it's not written specifically into the lease, but those of you that have these discussions at Finance and Personnel, the City of Portage also, or Portage RDC, also approved doing a more intensive, more comprehensive mold assessment of this building. We had just most recently, during the last big storm that we had, right outside in this lobby, water gushed through that ceiling, and was all over the front of the carpet there.
Restroom too.
Restroom too?
Yeah,
I knew back in this
You
room.
can see the valve collapsed in there.
Okay. So, yeah, so we've had those over the years, and so this will help ensure that we have a safe environment for our staff. So they should be getting started on that assessment pretty soon. So that was another, it's not written into the lease, but it's another thing that came along with the lease that Portage RDC approved. So again, it's a 5-year time frame. That's also, I don't believe the form is quite wrapped up their lease, so I probably shouldn't even speak for their situation, but they were planning on a 5-year lease as well.
Other questions?
Thank you both for your efforts on that, we really appreciate it. The next meeting of the Finance and Personnel Committee will be on March 21st at 8 o'clock in the morning here at this building. So look forward to seeing those members then.
Your job is done.
I gotta go.
Thank you.
Yep, we'll see.
Thank you, Dave.
Technical Planning Committee, Kevin Breinski.
The Technical Planning Committee met on Tuesday, February 6th. The committee heard a presentation from staff on the Rose chapter of the recently adopted NWI 2050 Plus plan. Staff will continue to present additional chapters of the document at further TPC meetings. There are 2 actions for consideration today. The first action is for Resolution 2402, the air quality conformity determination for NWI 2050 Plus and fiscal year 2024-2028 Transportation Improvement Program. Scott Weber will first provide a summary of the 30-day comment period for the amendment, then explain the action. The comment report begins on page 12 of your packet, followed by the resolution. The Technical Planning Committee recommends adoption of Resolution 2402, contingent on EPA comments, which should be received by February 20th. Mr. Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Brzezinski. So I am the guilty party of a lot of the thickness of your agenda packets today. We'll start with the thinnest of the leaflets on page 12, which is the public comment report on the air quality conformity determination. So the air quality conformity determination is it's like a 3-legged stool. It's one of the required documents that allows NERC to plan for and expend federal funding resources. The other 2 required documents, this commission actually adopted all the way back in July of last year, the NWI 2050 Plus, as well as the fiscal years 2024 to 2028 Transportation Improvement Program. So I'm going to talk about the 3rd leg of the stool, which will fulfill the federal requirement of the air quality conformity determination of those 2 documents. Because the EPA has designated our region of Lake and Porter County specifically as non-attainment for ozone in 2000 to the 2008 standards, as well as the 2015 standards. So because of that, we have to show that all of the federally funded projects that we are proposing to fund through our NWI 2050 Plus and fiscal years 2024 to 2028 Transportation Improvement Program do not result in emissions that are at or above the budgets in the State Implementation Plan of Indiana. So page 12 is the public comment report about this document. We released this air quality conformity determination conformity public comment from January 5th to February 4th of this year, and we did not receive any comments. That's all that page 12 says. Now pages 13 to 14 explain the memo of how we propose showing that this air quality conformity determination analysis report fulfills the federal requirements and shows that all the projects in those 2 documents that I mentioned result in emissions that are at or below the budgets in the state implementation plan. So if you look at the table on page 14 of your agenda packets, you can see the precursors of ozone. Those are NOx, nitrous oxides, as well as VOC, which are volatile organic compounds, are at or below the emissions budgets for those pollutants in every required year. Now, the caveat here, unfortunately, is that in order for us to meet these budgets, we actually had to request action from the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, to put into the Federal Register an amendment to the state implementation plan that allows our projections to show that we meet those budgets. And what's in the Federal Register says that there's still an ongoing public comment period through February 20th of this year. So the action that the Technical Planning Committee forwarded with its favorable recommendation is that we basically ask for a recommendation for approval of this report, subject to there being no adverse comments in the EPA's process through February 20th. I know that is a lot of technical information, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. The resolution itself is on pages 15 to 16, and the very lengthy air quality conformity determination report itself is on pages 17 to 70. So other than that, I'm happy to answer
Questions? And you are asking for adoption.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Do we have a motion to adopt?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. The second action is for Resolution 2403, Amendment 2401 to the 2024-2028 Transportation Improvement Program. Charles Bradsky will first provide a summary of the 30-day comment period for the document, followed by a presentation on the plan. The comment report starts on page 17 of your packet, followed by the resolution. The Technical Planning Committee also recommends adoption at 2403. Mr. Bradsky.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
The public comment report is on page 71, as Mr. Bretsky mentioned. I'm not going to read the entire public comment report to you. Just as Scott has done a little bit of clearing of the trees out here, I've only cleared out 2 trees. So not as much as Scott. I do want to point out that there were no comments to the proposed amendment 24-01 and resolution 24-03, amendment 24-01. We did not receive any public comments during this time. NERC also sent the amendment out to the interagency consultation group on January 10th, and we did receive 1 comment back from Federal Highway. The comments are shown on page 71, like I mentioned. We did receive further comment from INDOT on their proposed project, the mega project. If you notice at the bottom, Federal Highway was asking that if the project total costs were correct, does the project extend into Illinois? And if so, do the project limits in the TIP reflect that? They received some information that said the project is $227 million, whereas we showed the project at $167 million. Since then, INDOT has gotten back to us, and they noted that the project manager got back with me and discussed the project, and we've been told that the development of this project is very fluid and still developing. He did want to get the process started with NERC in getting the project into the TIP, and so this is one of the first steps. He does expect future projects to join in with that construction contract. This is the mega project where the proposed adding lanes, not adding lanes, but adding intelligent transportation system to the Borman. This is where they're going to be adding meter ramps, being able to run hard shoulder running, so on and so forth. They do expect that contract to increase significantly in costs, but at this time they don't know what those costs are going to be, so they are starting to get the ball rolling. So there will be future projects that be added to this. And that is the public comment report. Everything else is the same as on page 71 and 72. Moving on, the summary of the projects in the TIP amendment. The TIP amendment, again, is subject to federal highway or EPA's finding of approval of our air quality conformity. That's kind of the linchpin of everything that we have going on. Once those get approved, then our long-range transportation plan can be approved by USDOT. That's Federal Highway and FTA, as well as NDOT. And then our TIP adoption, which we approved last year, can be approved, and then this amendment would then follow that. So everything is kind of sitting with the EPA, and when they get their numbers, then we've been assured that everything's going to be flowing through. They're going to open the floodgates and sign everything off. The amendment that's before you has 52 projects on it. NDOT has 10 new projects. There's 8 bridge rehabilitation projects, 1 pavement rehab, and 1 planning project. There's 16 projects with significant increase in funding. There's 1 intersection, 1 bridge replacement, 9 bridge rehabilitation, 3 pavement rehabilitations, 1 small structure replacement, 1 sign replacement. There's 2 projects with added phases of pavement rehab and 1 small structure replacement, and 3 non-exempt projects. Those just have changes per our public comment policy. Any project that is non-exempt must be considered an amendment. And one of those is the 8094 Flex Road, the mega project. For the local sponsored projects, 11 new projects for the municipality of East Chicago, Hammond, Hobart, LaPorte, Maryville, there's 2 of them, Michigan City, and the counties of LaPorte, Porter, and also for Nervcy. That include 2 intersection improvement, 1 pavement rehab, 3 planning projects, 1 bridge replacement, 1 new bridge project, and 3 other types of projects. There's 4 substantial changes to projects, increasing in funding for Chesterton, Michigan City, Schererville, and Porter County. One's an ITS, one's a trail, one's a planning, one's a roadway expansion. And 5 projects, there's 2 with added phases. 2 in Gary, Michigan, and 1 in Michigan City, Valparaiso, and Lake County. That breaks down to 2 intersection improvements, 1 pavement rehab, 1 bridge replacement, and 1 complete streets project. And then finally, 1 project has been eliminated in the city of Gary. That's a brief rundown. All this is in the packet. So if there's any questions.
Pages 73 and 74 of the packet.
Questions?
That's a nice summary. Any questions, yes?
Any questions? We do need an approval for resolution 24-03. Do I have a motion?
Yes, please.
Second. Motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adam Barthouse is-
Adam is here. Adam, welcome.
Matt sends his apologies. He was on his way here and got diverted at the last moment away and was not going to be able to make it. So you get me. A couple of things to share with you today. One, at the end of January, on Friday, January 26th, NDOT organized a statewide safety summit. This is in response to Commissioner Mike Smith's stated goal maybe you've heard of this by now. If not, hopefully you will be in the coming months and certainly years as we look toward this. Reducing fatal crashes and serious injury crashes along Indiana roadways by 25% over the next 10 years. This summit was held at the Traffic Management Center in Indianapolis. It was attended by NDOT leaders and partners from local government, state legislature. Ty, I believe you were there as well, representing NERC. Ultimately achieving this goal over this 10-year period, it's a lofty goal. I think we can all agree it's a worthy one. It's going to take a collaborative effort between NDOT and our partners, key stakeholders, and hopefully we look forward to working together toward achieving that goal. In the coming months, NDOT is going to hold similar summits at the district level. So the Port District will be hosting one as well. More details on that to come. We're still kind of taking a look at what that's going to look like, location, that kind of thing. We'll be reaching out to some folks to not only attend the event, but also potentially serve as panelists and or presenters. So if anybody is certainly interested in that, you can come see me or you can reach out to Matt, and we can talk about what that looks like. Again, more details on that to come. We're just kind of in the very, very early planning stages of that right now, but sometime over the next couple of months, I would expect to see that happen. So, Ty, I don't know if you wanted to add any comments.
I do, thank you. So I admit I was going somewhat reluctantly just because of the busyness of the schedule, and it was extremely well done, and it was very eye-opening. They brought in, as Adam mentioned, law enforcement as well as others that just gave good technical information, and just off the top of my head, I just thought two very sobering statistics that's, I think, worth conveying just to accentuate the seriousness of the problem and why we need to pay attention to this is the law enforcement folks talked about how they, I'm not sure I totally have this right, but as they pull over folks for a suspected DUI and all and do the testing, they now screen for a panel of something like 7+ substances or something. And it's frightening the amount of substances that people that are pulled over are carrying besides alcohol. So that is extremely sobering because there's not a lot you can do about that with other people on the road. And then the other statistic that jumped out that I thought was very sobering is I think they estimate 6% of the Indiana population are not wearing seatbelts. That's the estimate, but they account for about 45% in that neighborhood of all the fatalities. So again, it's a very important issue, and I'm thankful for the commissioner starting this initiative and taking it so passionately, because I went away from there convinced that we need to do whatever we're able to do as an MPO to help contribute to better safety on the roadways.
Certainly, and I think the big takeaway is it's not any one thing, right? Yes, it's people wearing seatbelts. Yes, it's people slowing down. Yes, it's road treatments that we can use that help reduce or increase safety, reduce injury crashes. So it's a multi-pronged thing, and we want everybody at the table involved and kind of linking arms on this. So I look forward to continuing to develop that and push toward that. Again, the commissioner has stated agency goal, which is to reduce injury fatal crashes by 25% over the next 10 years. One last thing I wanted to talk about. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but there's been some potholes out there lately. When we last met in January, we were on the heels of a pretty nasty winter storm that wreaked havoc throughout the area. That was immediately followed up by a pretty vicious freeze-thaw cycle that had quite an impact on a lot of our roadways, and I think locally you guys are probably dealing with a lot of that as well. Our crews went from working around the clock to battle snow and ice right into working around the clock filling potholes for, I think in total it was basically the entire month of January those folks were working around the clock. And a lot of our corridors were impacted. I think one of the bigger ones were certainly most noticeable to the traveling public and the people that we heard from was I-65. All the way down to the southern reaches of the district. We've had some areas that were certainly very impacted. Our crews have been doing everything they can to stay on top of it. We are developing a plan now to deal with that through an urgent contract that we're putting together now and possible acceleration of some other projects that are already in the capital program over the next year or two. So we're coming at this from a lot of different angles. We appreciate everybody's patience as we move through this. Our team has been working really hard, again, around the clock there for a period of time, just trying to stay on top of it. And I certainly would be remiss if I didn't, point out the efforts of those folks, and I wanted to, in this forum, share my heartfelt kudos to them for all the hard work that they did, and to kind of hold things together out there. Those men and women have been working extremely hard over the last month, not just battling snow and ice again, but potholes as well. So, happy to take any questions on that, or the safety summit, or any other topic, or I'll be hanging around for a little bit afterwards.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to invite, make an update presentation on the Borman, since it is a mega project and it affects a lot of our communities. It'd be wonderful when you're ready, anytime. Although we are meeting March the 5th in this room, but no pressure, but still, just the same, we'd like to hear some.
Yeah, I think we
some of the plan.
We can potentially put something like that together. The Flexor project is, as Charles mentioned, it's we're still piecing together exactly what that's going to look like. We did obviously receive the mega grant for $127 million to apply toward that project, which we were very excited about. But we're excited about this project overall, and as it continues to take shape and form. But yes, I'll make a note of that. We'll see if we can, if not me here to talk about it, maybe we can get our friends from Parsons here too.
Other questions? Jeff?
Just comment,
Please.
would that be appropriate?
Please.
To those of us that are responsible for law enforcement budgets, they have been impacted greatly by the substances that people are using now instead of alcohol. So additional dogs are no longer really restraint dogs, they're more drug detection dogs. So the training and procurement of those facilities is important, as well as the officers on the street have to be educated to identify the factors that are involved in substance abuse other than alcohol. And that's another increased factor. So it is betting on police budgets for these trends that you well mentioned. We appreciate that. The other thing, if anybody has traveled on 49, State Road 49 between the toll road and 94. Since it was constructed in 1977 to be a bypass, I want everybody to be aware that it is no longer a bypass. There are 4 traffic stop signals, and enforcement's been an issue, especially with trucks taking shortcuts on 49. And in the summer, with the traffic to the National Lake Shore, to the state park and so forth, we've almost quadrupled the use of that highway. But NDOT has been behind us in every effort we've made to try and increase the safety of that corridor. And I want to give you a shout out on that, Adam, because we've instituted 40-mile-an-hour truck speed limits, white lane only trucks, crossovers for police interdiction of speeding. We have people that go 80, 85 miles an hour down 49. Anytime after 10 o'clock at night, that's something that we've really cracked down on. So without the help of and cooperation of NDOT, we wouldn't have been able to transform that bypass, in quotes, into almost a main street through Chesterton, as it is now. So many crossovers are very dangerous. But NDOT's done their share and done what they could do with an existing plan that in 77 seemed to make sense, but mostly expired in its usability as far as a bypass. And I think you'll agree with me, Adam, that's not a bypass.
Certainly not at this point. I appreciate the kind words. We always, as always, appreciate the partnership with the town of Chesterton.
Thank you.
Great work.
Well, we appreciate you. Other comments? Other business? Announcements? Robert?
All right, it's going to be a little different. I've got an announcement and I'm going to ask a question. Cedar Lake sends their sewage to Lowell. We went to a meeting Tuesday night in Lowell, and the Lowell Town Council told us that the former town councils of Lowell have kicked the can down the bucket, down the road. And they're telling us that the expansion of the plant may cost Cedar Lake and Low $35 to $40 million. 2 years to engineer and 2 years to build. All right, I hated hearing that. But now what I'm asking anybody, do you know of any federal grants that both towns can get to help reduce the burden on the residents?
Off the top of my head, I can't speak to anything, but we can certainly do what we can to try to see what might be available to.
In 1998, we had a town council that raised the rates from $18 a month by $30 to $48 a month. Everyone on that council lost the election after they did that. I hope we're not faced with that again. And it may be even higher than that. So anybody that can give me any information, I'd appreciate it.
Robert, any other comments? We can't end on sewage from you.
Well, that was a crusher Tuesday night.
And that took the wind out of the balloon, huh?
Yeah.
Other announcements? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
You do. Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Have a great day, everybody.